for the single parents out there, co-parenting, one of the hardest parts, especially if somebody doesn't show up. Being alone is stressful, it's depressing at sometimes, but imagine having kids or having a child who knows or who experienced the love of both parents, and they know both parents are alive, but one parent is never there. Even if you've separated, one parent is never there. One parent doesn't show up for the kids, and someone who doesn't contribute financially. That's also something that really brings issues to a relationship, and eventually you realize there's something that needs to change for your children, not for you, but for your children. And nobody prepares you for this part of of parenting. People talk about divorce, they talk about separation, but nobody ever talks about co-parenting. But very few people talk about it. And let's face it. When one parent is inconsistent, the other parent has to try. In most cases, I've seen one parent trying to make excuses for the other parent. Trying to make your child, understand, telling them, oh, he's busy, something came up, they'll come next time, because you want your children to believe the best. We always try to protect our children, and it's painful, but it's what we have to do. But after the other partner or the other parent missing, like lots of visits with the child, broken promises, cancelled plans, you realize something important. Children don't measure love by words. They measure love by actions. Every promise that is not kept teaches that child something. And you don't want to teach your children those lessons. So you need to stop building the expectation around promises. Be real with them. Sometimes don't spoil the name of the other parents, but just be real with your children. Instead of you telling them, for example, a parent who tells a child, I'll come next weekend, and this has been something that person has been saying, for quite a long time and never showing up. So what you need to do is never tell that child that parent is coming. When that parent shows up, they show up. But don't build that expectations in children. It's okay to tell them, your mommy said hi, your daddy said hi, but at the end of the day, let children be children and enjoy their childhood. Don't let them learn that promises are broken. Their hearts are young and they'll take it deeply. And that's why sometimes I usually think we have grown-ups who are carrying loads and loads. They've not healed from their trauma, their child traumas, and they continue this cycle in their adulthood life. So we need to protect children. If a parent shows up, wonderful. If they don't, the day will still continue. Teach your child that, and laughter will be had, memories will be made, and you will live with your child, and your child will be happy at all times. And one of the hardest lessons you need to learn is you cannot force someone to be a parent. Your children deserve the best of you, but you cannot force the other person to become a good father, a good mother. If they want to be there, they'll be there. If they don't, leave them, But you can become the safe place that your child needs, and will always need. And they will always know that, mommy, daddy, I can rely on these two people, and these two people will never let me down. And that, don't speak badly about that. That doesn't mean you speak badly about the other parent, because, at the end of the day, even if you speak badly about the other child, and something I've realized is that child will start hating that child might even think you're the bad one, because they think you're keeping their dad away from them. So you need to be very careful. And one day, they will realize, or they will understand more than we realize ourselves. Until then, guys, keep your children at peace. Protect them, show them consistency, and love them. Don't make them feel like they're unwanted. And making them feel unwanted is not just telling them. Your actions will tell them. So, and if you're navigating, co-parenting, remember this: consistency build trust. Yeah. And children never forget the people who keep showing up for them. And it's true, children never forget, they keep it. So guys, subscribe so that we can grow together. As I usually say, choose your peace and choose consistency for your children. Bye bye.